grade 12 learners, welcome to today's geography lesson. My name is Nomthandazo Malembe. This lesson is brought to you by the Northern Cape Department of Education in collaboration with Phakama Research and Development. So today, learners, we are focusing on our prelim revision. We will be looking at our paper 2, question 2. By now, you're supposed to know that our question 2 it's based on economic geography. But before we start with our lesson, I just want us to go through our lesson objective for today. So by the end of this lesson, learners, you should be able to identify the structure for paper 2, and also we're going to be focusing on the following subtopics. We will be looking at the types of farming. We will be looking at the types of industries. We will be looking at the gold mining. We will be looking at the industrial regions as well as the informal sector. So we're going to go through our examination tips. So in our examination tips, we're going to start with the structure of your paper. So the structure of your paper, we're looking at the mark allocation, which is 150 marks, and the time that is allocated or the duration for your paper will be 3 hours. Your question paper, it has 2 sections, which is section A and section B. Under your section A, you will have 2 questions, which is question 1 and question 2. And under your section B, you will have 1 question, which is question 3. So in your question 1, you should expect questions based on the settlement. Remember, the settlement, it can be a rural settlement and it can be an urban settlement. And you cannot be selective because you will never know on which subtopic the examiner will choose. So it is advisable that you read or you study everything. Then your question 2, it has your economic geography. Again, the examiner can pick any topic under your economic geography. Then your section B, it will have your map work. Then to further break down the questions, as we've said in question 1 that you should expect questions based on the settlement geography, which is your rural and your urban. So you will have the short objective questions. We're talking about the one-word answers. It may come as a multiple choice where you need to choose from the 4 options. It may come as the column A and column B. Remember, you are now given it's either Y or Z where you need to choose from. So it is much easier now because you are only given 2 options per question. Then also they can give you in a form whereby you're supposed to choose the correct term in the brackets to make the statement to be correct. And also you are advisable that you start by numbering. As we are starting by numbering, so you are saying 2.1.1 up to 2.1.8 in that order. Then you know for sure that you will not skip any questions. Then if the question 2.1 has 8 questions, it means your 2.2 will have 7 questions. Then you will be done with the short objective questions. Then you move to the long questions now. The long questions, you'll expect them from figure 2.3 up until 2.5. So the questions there will be 15 marks each. At figure 1.83 will have 15 marks. Your 1.4 will have another 15 marks, your 1.5 another 15 marks. Then it will give you a total of 60 marks. Then each and every question will give you a 1 paragraph question. So in question 1, again, you will have 1 paragraph question, and then the rest of the question will come as a 3 times 2 or a 2 times 2 question. Then you move to your question 2, which is our focus for today, your economic geography. Again, the examiner can pick any topic based on the economic geography. So you are also advised to revise or to study everything because you will never know what questions you will come across. Again, the structure will be the same. You will start with the short objective questions, which is your 2.1 and your 2.2. Again, if the other one has 8 questions, the other figure will have 7. Also, start by writing the numbering down so that you know that you have your answers in order and you have not skipped any question. Then after, you will have three figures with the long questions, your 2.3, 2.4 and 2.5. Again, in question 2, you will have one paragraph question. Then the rest will be your 3 times 2 and your 2 times 2. Then you move to your section B. Your section B, you will have your question 3. Under your question 3, you're going to have your map work. Remember, your map work will give you 30 marks. So to further break down these 30 marks, you will have your map skills and your calculation with 10 marks. That is your figure 3.1. Then your figure 3.2 is where you should expect map interpretation questions, and they will give you 12 marks. Then you move to your figure 3.3, which is your GIS questions, and your GIS questions carries 8 marks. Then the total there will be your 30 marks. So remember, you have your question 1 with 60 marks, a settlement geography. Then you have your economic geography question 2 with another 60 marks, that is 120. Then you add with your question 3, which is your map work, 30 marks, and the total there will be your 150 marks. Then to give you the examination tips now, as soon as you receive your question paper and you are now given that 10 minutes a reading time, you need to start by reading the instructions very carefully. When we are reading the instructions, we're talking even the instructions for the questions. For example, your figure 1.1 will tell you, refer to figure 1.1 based on this topic. So you know that you are expecting questions on which topic. Then after, you need to read the questions twice before you answer. So do not rush into answering the questions that you haven't understood. So read the question twice, even 3 times if it's not making sense to you. So read the questions carefully and you read them twice. Then, as you are reading the questions, you need to underline the keywords so that it can give you the clue on how you're going to attack your answers. For example, if the question is saying discuss, you cannot write just 2 words because you haven't discussed anything. And if the question is saying state, you cannot give 4-line answer because they are only looking for one item or one answer. Then you underline the keywords as well as the action verbs. So your action verbs there will be telling you discuss the importance of the economic whatever farming or of the economic the importance of the economic in terms of contributing to the GDP or whatsoever. So there, the action verb, you will be knowing that we are talking about the economic importance. So the keywords, you will know that we are talking about you need to discuss, or you need to identify, or you need to state. Remember, sometimes you can waste time writing 4 lines where else the answer, it was supposed to be just 1 word. And also you lose the marks because you did not see that the question says account or discuss or explain. Those are the keywords. Then you know how far you're supposed to go when you are answering. Then you check the mark allocation. Checking the mark allocation, it will assist you to know how many responses you're supposed to give, because some of the question will just say discuss, suggest, account, without giving you an indication on how many factors you're supposed to give. But by looking at the mark allocation, if it's saying 2 times 2, you know that you're supposed to give 2 responses. If it's saying 3 times 2, you know that you're supposed to give 3 responses. Then after, you need to study the diagram as well as the infographic that you are given. Remember, the diagram, it is there to assist you or to give you the clues on what the question is all about. And also, when it comes to the infographic, there are those questions where they will say quote from the infographic or according to the infographic. So it is important that you go through the infographic. After that, you read the questions. As you are reading the questions with your pencil, you mark all the questions that you're supposed to refer back to the infographic. And then after you have read the questions, you need to go back to reading the infographic infographic again. Now, as you are reading for the second time, you are reading and underlining the answers that you're supposed to quote from the infographic. Question 2 is the economic geography. So in our economic geography, we're going to start with the types of farming. The sketch below shows 2 types of farming. Remember, we said it is important that you read the instructions. So the instructions it is telling us that it is showing 2 types of farming, as in photo A, as in photo B. So match the description in question 2.1.1 to 2.1.8 within the photograph A and B. So now, before you even answer the question, you just need to identify what type of farming is practiced at A, and also what type of farming is practiced at B, and what are the characteristics or what are the things that you can identify in order for you to tell what type of a farming is practiced in that photograph. And then after that, by understanding what is happening on the diagram, when it comes to the questions, it will be easy to answer all the questions. So you have your question 2.1.1 up to question 2.1.3. Those are 3 questions. I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Then after 3 minutes, we're moving to the next questions before we start with our corrections. So your 3 minutes start now. Looking there at our first question, remember I said to you, before you even answer, you're supposed to identify what type of farming is at A and what type of farming is at B. So looking there at A, you are seeing that this person here is doing a manual labor, and you realize even this one there is doing the manual labor, and there is a piece of land that they are farming. So therefore, it's supposed to tell you that this is a small scale farming or a subsistence farming. Then at B, we realize that they are using equipment, which is the tractor, and there is a large area that they are farming, which means this is a commercial farming or a large scale farming. So let us see what questions did we have. Your 2.1.1, the farming that produces a high yield per hectare, is it A or B? So they are producing the high yield of hectare at B because everything is done using the machines, and there are more scientific farming methods that are being practiced. So therefore, the yield is going to be larger. Then 2.1.2, associated with extensive farming practice. So again, you have an extensive and intensive. Looking at the extensive there, it's supposed to tell you that there is less work that has been put in. As you can see that everything is done by the machine. So therefore, it is at B where they are practicing an extensive farming. Then your 2.1.3, the products for the home as well as export markets. As you can see there at B, that they are farming for the business. So therefore, they are able to supply locally and they are able to supply internationally. So therefore, B becomes an answer. Then your figure 2.1.5, the farming describes a small scale farming. So we've already identified some characteristics at A that matches with a small scale farming. Then your 2.1.5, the farming that is associated with the monoculture. Remember, monoculture, it means that type of farming, they are only focusing on one crop at a time. Hence, they are called the monoculture. And the monoculture is practiced at a large scale or a commercial farming because they are looking at profit because they are farming for the business. Then your 2.1.6, the farming that is capitally intensive and uses advanced technology. So it is B. So we are given by the capital intensive. It means there is so much money that has been put in. As you can see, the equipment there that they are using, and also uses the advanced technology, which is B, as you can see in the photograph. Then your 2.1.7, the farming that focuses on food security for the local communities. Why it is A? Because they are farming for their families, which is the subsistence, and they are also farming to sell the surplus, which is the small scale farming. So therefore, they are focusing on the food security because they want to feed their families and they want to sell the surplus so that they can be able to support their family. Then your 2.1.8, the farming that produces a low yield per hectare, which is A again, because they are farming in a small piece of land and everything is done manually, and they are still focusing on the traditional farming methods. So therefore, their yield will be very low. So that is 8 marks. Then we're moving to figure 2.2. In our figure 2.2, you choose the correct words given in the brackets. So you can see that it's based on the types of industries. So you are given a light or heavy industry that covers the large area and tends to cause more pollution. Then again, I have said you're supposed to underline the keywords as well as the action verbs so that you can be able to identify the correct answer there. So here you're supposed to know the characteristic of each type of industry. So you've got 3 questions. I'm going to give you 3 minutes, and then after 3 minutes we'll be proceeding to the next questions before we move into the corrections. So your 3 minutes start now. Right, grade 12, looking there at our first question. Remember, we are looking at the industries that covers the large area and tend to cause more of the pollution. Between the light and the heavy, we have the heavy industry because the characteristics, they are matching the heavy industry. Then a power station is an example of the market or the raw material orientated. You will remember that the market, it's the ones that deals with the goods that are being perishable and they're supposed to be closer to the consumers. So the raw material orientated, we are saying they are closer to the source of raw material, hence the power station. The power station is closer to the coal as a raw material so that it can be processed and be reached fast. Then 2.2.3, the location of footloose or ubiquitous industries is not determined by the location factors such as your raw material, your transport, and your market. We are looking at your footloose. Remember the footloose, we are saying these are types of industries that have the products that do not expire and they do not need any specific conditions or anyhow that they should be handled because their goods, they do not expire. We're talking about the goods that are electronics and the computers. Then your 2.2.4, the light or heavy industries can be located around the CBD. Remember, this is the light industries that can be located around the CBD because they use small machines and they are less or no pollution at all. So they are harmless. Hence, they can be located closer to the CBD. Even in the CBD inside, you can get these types of industries. Then your 2.2.5, the market or raw material orientated industries produces low order and perishable goods. So they are producing low order and perishable goods. So you will realize this is your market. Why low order? Remember the low order, these are the goods that are being bought every day. You will remember in the settlement geography. So they are being bought every day and they're supposed to be sold fast because they will expire soon. Then your 2.2.6, the bridge or the raw material orientated industry are located near the harbors where raw material is imported. Remember, it is a bridge because we are saying the one mode of transport replaces the other. So they are located near the harbors where they will receive their goods through the ships, which is the water mode, and then it will be transported into the trucks, which is the road mode, or it will go straight into the airport, which is the air mode. So one mode of transport has replaced the other. Then your 2.2.7, your ubiquitous or your market-orientated industries like telecommunications are not determined by any specific locational requirements. We are talking about the ubiquitous. Remember the ubiquitous, these are the industries that are dealing with the cell phone network. Then we're looking at our figure 2.3. In our figure 2.3, we are looking at the industrial region. You will remember that this year, the PWV is the one that will be asked, as well as your Durban Pinetown. So from the 4 industrial regions, you should focus more on the 2, which will be in ask this year. So we are given a PWV industrial region. They have given us the map of the industrial region, which is your PWV, your Pretoria, Johannesburg, and Vereeniging, their location. And you are also given an extract there. As it says, the PWV Gauteng Industrial Region is an integrated cluster of the cities, town, and urban nodes that together makes up the economic heartland of South Africa. This region is the country's center of trade within the Southern Africa and beyond. The PWV, which is Gauteng, produces more than 33.8% of the national GDP in the current prices. The PWV Gauteng is estimated to contribute about 45% of South Africa's total economic output. Despite its importance, the PWV Gauteng regions faces many challenges such as the water shortages and a high level of unemployment. So let us see what questions do we have. So we have the first 3 questions, which of the urban settlement in the PWV Gauteng industrial region in figure 3.6 stated that started out as a gold mining settlement. So you'll remember that you have given the 3 towns there, or the 3 urban settlements in the PWV. Then your 3.2.3 quote 2 statistics. So you are quoting 2 statistics. Remember, again, as we've said, you need to learn to underline the keywords so that you can be able to see how you're going to structure your answers. So you quote 2 statistics from figure 1.3, which indicates that the PWV Gauteng region, industrial region, is the economic heartland of South Africa. So 2 times 1, it means you need to give 2 responses that will give you 1 mark each. So should it happen that you only write 1, which means you only going to get 1 mark. Then your 2.3.3, you discuss 2 factors. That the keyword there, it is discuss. Remember, when saying discuss, you cannot only give the short answers, but you're supposed to answer fully by giving the facts and the qualifier, whereby you are now explaining the 2 factors that have favored the development of the industries in the PWV Gauteng regions, your 2 times 2, which means the 2 responses will give you 4 marks. Then again, if you only give 1 response which is correct, then you get 2 marks and you lose another 2 marks. Then Your next question will be your 2.3.4. The PWV Gauteng industrial region faces many challenges, including the high levels of unemployment and water shortages. Remember, this was also included in the extract. Then number A, why has water supply hindered the development of PWV industrial region? So 1 times 2, it means it's one answer that will give you 2 marks. And then B, how did the PWV Gauteng industrial region overcome the shortage of water supply for industries? Then number C, why does the PWV Gauteng industrial region face challenges of unemployment despite the high concentration of industries in this industrial region? So now that we have seen all the questions, remember I said to you, you need to go back to the extract again. As you are now reading the extract, you are now reading to point out the answers that you're supposed to take from the infographic. So I'm going to give you just 2 minutes to go through the infographic, and then after 2 minutes we can start with the answers. Looking there at our solution, which of the urban settlement in the PWV Gauteng industrial region shown in the figure 3.6 started out as a gold mining settlement? You will remember that Johannesburg, it is even called a city of gold because that is where they discovered the gold, and that is how the industries were formulated or stimulated in that area. Then your 2.3.2, you quote 2 statistics from the figure 1.3, which indicates that the PWV Gauteng industrial region is the economic heartland of South Africa. You've realized that in the extract, it says 33.8% of the national GDP in the current price, and also the 45% of the South Africa's total economic output. So those are the 2 statistics that shows that indeed PWV is the economic heartland of the South Africa, which means this is the province that is carrying South Africa. Then your 2.3.3, you discuss the 2 factors that have favored the development of industries in the PWV industrial region. Remember, there is quite the reasons, or there is quite factors that have favored the development of industries in this region. Number 1, this is the region that has most of the minerals, so therefore the abundant raw material from town and also found near the industries. Remember, with the discovery of this raw material, it also stimulated the industries, because the industries will always be closer to the source of raw material they are using, so that they can save on transport costs, and also so that they can get their raw material quicker. Then the availability of cheaper energy. Remember, they are next to the coal, which generates the electricity. So therefore, there are no transport costs that are added, which means the energy or the electricity will be much cheaper in this region. Why they need electricity? Because this is the industry that uses the machines that use an electricity. So therefore, electricity is always needed. Also, the availability of water and strategic water transfer schemes. Remember, even if Gauteng can be dry at times, because they've got these water transfer schemes, it means they will never run out of water. And also, water is needed for processing and manufacturing of the raw materials. So therefore, it also becomes a favoring factor because they do have water that is available. Then we're also looking at the landscape of Gauteng, which is flat. The available flat land facilitates easy construction of infrastructure. Remember, it is easy and it is cheaper to construct on a flat area. The availability of skilled and unskilled labor from the high population. Remember, Gauteng now attracts the people all over, be it within South Africa and abroad. So therefore, the labor force will always be available. And also, we're looking at the institutions that are in this region. Also, those institutions is where they're going to produce more of the skilled laborers, so they will never run out of the labor force. Then we're looking at the railway link to Maputo Harbour for the exports. Remember, we rely more on the international trade as compared to the local trade. Then we're looking at our question 2.3.4, which is A, why has water supply hindered the development of PWV industrial region? So even though we said in PWV there are water schemes, so those water schemes sometimes they are not enough or they fail. So the water becomes a hindering factor in this region because it does not receive enough rainfall throughout the year. So if it does not receive enough rainfall throughout the year, even if there is that project or that scheme to transfer water, it is not enough. Your high evaporation rate reduces the water supply. The temperatures becomes higher because they do not receive enough rainfall during the year. There is a high competing demand for water from different sectors of the economy. Remember, we said most of the industries are located in this region, so therefore there will be a high demand of water because each and every industry or each and every sector, they will be using water, including the residentials as well. Then we're looking at our B, which is how did PWV industrial region overcome the shortage of water supply for industries? So there we are looking at the water transfer schemes that has allowed water to be transferred to PWV industrial region. Then also within the country, they are using the Tugela Valley water transfer scheme that allows water from the Tugela River in KZN to be transferred to the Val Dam. So the Val Dam is here in Gauteng, so in that way they have overcome the shortage of water. Then we're looking at C. At C, why does the PWV industrial region face challenges of unemployment despite the high concentration of industries in this region? So, number one, we're looking at the increase in unskilled labor force. So this increase in unskilled labor force, remember, we are now talking about the people who are even coming from other countries or other provinces without the skills, because this industry, it has attracted a lot of people. So if there are so many people who are coming in this region and they do not have any qualification or any skills, so therefore it's going to increase the unemployment because these people will not be employable even if the job opportunities were there. Then we're looking at the lack of the fourth industrial revolution skills. So right now it is year 2025 and the technology has advanced in so many ways. So if we attract people who are older or who are lacking these fourth industrial revolution skills, they will not be given work because they will not be able to work or to operate those machines. Then we're looking at the retrenchments due to the unstable economic climate and also the COVID-19 restrictions as well as the protocols. You'll remember that during the COVID-19 times, the main industries were closed because we were supposed to be in our homes, so therefore they couldn't keep up or they couldn't open. Then we're looking at our figure 2.4. In our figure 2.4, it is based on the gold production. Remember, gold again this year is the one that is in a question. So here we are given the metric tons per year. Then we are given the years from 2040. From 1940 up until 2020. Like we've said, you start by reading the instruction. It's saying study the infographic in figure 1.4 on gold mining in South Africa. So here you are given a South African gold production, and then after that we are given an extract. So in that extract you need to read the extract again. Then after, we're gonna go through to the questions. After the questions, then we go back to the extract again. As we're reading for the second time now, we are underlining what answers that's supposed to come up from the extract. So in our extract, it's saying the spiraling labor and energy costs are putting pressure in the financial performance of South Africa's gold mines, but the solution could be found in adopting digital technologies. Most of these new technology solutions revolve around the automotive, facilitated by the convergence of multiple technologies from artificial intelligence to the robotics. By implementing automation, the automation, operators can remove underground workers out of harm's way, and that is going to become an ever bigger imperative if gold miners are to remain investable by international capital. This increased emphasis on the safety of the workforce and mines is motivating the development of the mining automation market. Earlier, old-style techniques of exploration and drilling compromises the security of the mine labor force. So let us see what questions do we have. The first question, you need to state the trend of gold production since 1917. Hence, we are given that graph so that you can be able to identify the trend. Then again, you mark the questions that you're supposed to refer back to. According to the passage, what are the negative issues of gold mine? Again, this one you're supposed to check from the infographic. Then the third one, you discuss one physical, which is the natural factor, that could have been responsible for the trend that you have identified in question 1.4.2. So you can see this is a follow-up question. Then 1.4.4, how can digital technology have a negative impact on a gold mining? 1 times 2, looking at the mark allocation, which means you only need to give one response. Then your 1.4.5, you discuss possible ways. Remember, discuss so that you can be able to be in a position on how you're going to structure your answers, because you discuss, you need to give full explanation. So discuss the possible ways in which mine laborers, which is the workers, can hinder the production of gold mining. Then again, you were not told how many responses you're supposed to give, but by looking at the mark allocation, which is 2 times 2, that's where you realize that you need to give 2 answers. Then your 1.4.6, you explain some incentives, which is the motivation that the mine workers can introduce to mine laborers, which is the workers, to promote the production of gold in our mines. Then again, you are not told how many responses you're supposed to give, but by looking at the mark allocation, which is 2 times 2, you then realize that you need to give 2 responses. So now that you have read the questions, it is now time to go back to the infographic. As you are going back to the infographic now, you are reading again with the understanding on what answers are you looking for. So I'm going to give you just 1 minute to go through the graph, and then after 1 minute we'll be proceeding to the extract so that you can read it on your own, and then after that you may start with the answers. Right, grade 12, looking at our first question, you state the trend in the gold production. So the trend there, as you can see, that it is decreasing looking at the graph. Then secondly, according to the passage, what are the negative issues? So there is a labor cost as well as the safety, and there is the energy cost. So those are the negative issues on the gold mining. It's 1 mark and 1 mark. Then your 1.4.3, you discuss the one factor, which is the natural factor that could have been responsible for the decreasing, for the trend that is decreasing. So number 1, we are looking at the reduction of gold reserve or ore. Remember, the gold, it is a natural a raw material, or it is a natural mineral. So it is, if it is being reduced or if it is decreasing, then it could be another reason why the gold production has decreased. Then we're also looking at the gold as a non-renewable resource. Then again, if it's a non-renewable resource, once it is depleted, it will never be able to be replaced. So that will decrease the trend. Then your 1.4.4, how can digital technology have a negative impact on gold mining? You are supposed to give one response that will give you 2 marks. So to accommodate most of the answers, we're looking at the digital technology. How can it be a negative impact? Remember, we have the thing in mind that the technology is more advanced, but now how can the very same technology become a negative impact? The digital technology is expensive, so not each and every company will be affording. And also, even if those ones who will be affording, it will be adding cost, or it will be taking from their product, or it will be taking from their profit. Then we're looking at the unskilled laborers. Remember, we said in this province, there is more of the unskilled laborers, which may break or they will damage the equipment because they do not have skills to operate this digital technology. Then we're also looking at the digital technology that requires skilled labor, that will require a competitive market salaries. So remember, if you have a skilled or you have a qualification, especially if you even have an experience, so your rate now it is higher. That will also be taken from the mines or the company's profit. The technical glitches with the equipment will hamper the production. So it is possible that there could be glitches and the production will be slower. Then your 1.4.5, you discuss possible ways in which the mine workers can hinder the production of gold. Number 1, those are the people who go on strike even the whole month or even more than a month. So you realize that during those strike action for the better wages as well as the benefits, there will be no production at all because they close down everything up until they are given what they are looking for. So in that way, there will be no production, which means the company on the mines will not be exporting anything. Then we're looking at the factional fighting between the locals as well as the migrant miners. Then again, remember we said especially in this region, it has attracted people from outside as well as the local people. So there will be those factional fighting. Then we're also looking at the diseases such as your HIV that is now an impact, because if most of the workers are being impacted with these diseases, it means each and every month there will be that day that they will be absent in order for them to collect medication. So therefore the company will be paying them, and on that day there will be no production. Then we're looking at our question 1.4.6. You explain some incentives, which is a motivation that mine owners can introduce to mine laborers, which is the workers, to improve the production of gold in the mines. Number one, the workers should be given the share or the profits. So if they now know that they are owning the shares, they will even work harder, because they know that it will benefit them at the end, because they are also part of this company. Also, to improve their salary adjustment to the signed with the CPI. Remember the CPI, we are looking at the standard of living or the cost at that moment. And also to create more collective bargaining councils to improve their incentive as well as their working conditions. So if their working conditions are being improved, so also they will appreciate and they will work even more harder. Then we're looking at our figure 2.5. In our figure 2.5, it says refer to figure 1.5, an extract based on the informal sector. So I'm going to allow you 3 minutes to read the infographic on your own, or the extract on your own, and then after 3 minutes we're gonna check the questions, and then again we go back to the extract, and then after that we will now be ready for the answers. Right, I hope we are all done. So our next this is the continuation of our extract, because it was very long, so it has to be broken so that we can be able to read it. So now I'm going to give you 2 minutes to read the last part, and then after 2 minutes we go through the questions. Right? Looking at our questions, we have 5 questions. The first one, how many people are unemployed according to the extract? Then again, you put a star because you need to go back to the extract so that you can be able to give the correct answer according to the extract. Then secondly, you quote evidence to justify that unemployment is a serious problem. So again, you need to quote, you put another star because you need to go back to the extract so that you can be able to get the correct quote. Then your 1.5.3, according to the article, again, why the informal sector is important. So the first 3 questions, you're supposed to go back to the infographic. Then your 1.5.4, discuss some of the challenges experienced by the people in the informal sector. Discuss some of the challenges, and again, you are not told how many responses, but by looking at the mark allocation, you realize that you need 2 responses. Then number 5, in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain the negative, remember you need to give a full answer. Explain the negative impact that the formal sector has on a formal sector. So the impact that the informal sector has on the formal sector. 4 times 2, meaning you need to give 4 responses for you to get the 8 marks. So you have identified all the questions that you're supposed to refer to the extract. Right? Our first question there, how many people are unemployed? According to the extract, we realize that it is 6.14 million, and we have got the figures from the extract. Then your 1.5.2, you were supposed to quote evidence again to justify that unemployment is a serious problem. So there are 4 quotes that you were supposed to pick up. It's either you pick the one that is one of the highest rates in the world, or your 6.10 million people out of work, or South Africa has a job crisis. Then lastly, we're looking at the unemployment rate is 27.1%. So any of the 4. Then, according to the article again, why is informal sector important? So it is important because it provides jobs, or it allows people with no formal education or skills to work. The important space for entrepreneurs. So any of the 3. Then your 1.5.4, this is where you are supposed to discuss now some of the challenges that are being experienced by the people in the informal sector. So there is quite a number of challenges. Number 1, they are frequently harassed by the local authorities. Remember, their businesses are not registered. They do not have licenses or permits to run their businesses. So therefore, the local authorities, in terms of the police, they take that into advantage. A lack of access to a proper trading facilities. Most of them, they are the street vendors. So therefore, they do not have facilities where they can perform their businesses in those areas. There are no storage facilities for their goods. Every time they need to take their stock back home, and also the next day they need to take back to the streets, so it becomes a challenge. And also they do not have the skills or the formal education. So sometimes you find that they are robbing themselves. They are not even making a profit because they do not have a skill on how to do pricing for their stock. And they cannot obtain credits as well as the loans from the banks because they do not have any record. They're dealing with cash, and their businesses are not registered even with SARS. So now they do not have any documentation that they can qualify for them to get a loan in order for them to grow their business. Then your 1.5.5, in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, you're supposed to explain the negative impact that the formal sector has on the informal sector has on the formal sector. So number 1, it reduces their profit. Why it reduces their profit? Because the informal sector, their products are cheap. Remember, these people, they do not have any skill to run a business, and most of the time they are running at a loss because they are looking at attracting more customers, and they are not looking at the business wise where they are losing profit, because they are the very same products that you find in the formal business, you will find to them at a cheaper price. So therefore, the people, they prefer to buy from them. Your formal sector will thus make a small contribution to the economy through the taxes, because the less people who buys, that will be the less income for the formal sector, and they will contribute less as well into the taxes, which means our GDP also will not grow. Your formal sector business may have to close. So if they are comparing or if they are competing with these informal sectors because their goods are cheaper, it means now they will not have customers. If they do not have customers, they're supposed to close. And if they are closing, there will be loss of jobs in the formal sector. With the loss of jobs, again, it will become an economic issue, because now there will be no one who is contributing towards the taxes. Then it also increases the amount of people who now turn into the informal sector. Remember again, loss of jobs is also one of the reasons why there is a high informal sectors in South Africa. Then also we're looking at they are associated with the noise pollution in the formal businesses area. Remember, they put themselves right outside the formal businesses, and there is so many things that they are using in order for them to have this noise pollution. They discourage people supporting the formal businesses. They discourage them how? Because their products are cheaper. So therefore, even if you want to support the formal businesses, because of the economy that is not doing well, you even get discouraged and you end up supporting them. So, to summarize on what we have learned so far, we have looked into the types of farming, we have looked into the types of industries, your gold mining, we have looked into the industrial region, which is the PWV, and then the informal sector. So to give you the preview of our next lesson, we will still be focusing on paper 2, but we're going to look at question 3. You will remember that question 3, it consists of your map work. So we have come to an end of our lesson today. Hopefully you have enjoyed the lesson, but most of all, I hope you have learned. Thank you and stay tuned for the next lesson.